Hey guys, how's it going? This is Daryl, and that's Dion.
Hello.
And welcome to our first impressions of Phantasy Star Online 2, where we'll go over our pros and cons of the game and how we're enjoying it so far. So, as I said, let's start with our pros. Dion, if you want to kick off with what you're enjoying about the game so far?
Sure. So I was looking forward to this game, as Daryl will probably tell you. I played the original PSO. We all played, I guess we both played PSO for a little bit. Didn't play it consistently because PSO 2 New Genesis was announced, and I was really excited. Just for those that don't know, New Genesis, even though it has the PSO 2 name, it really feels like a new game, new experience. It just allows you to jump between the original PSO 2 and the New Genesis version really quickly. So pros, I really think the game movement, the gameplay, fighting, excellent. It's so good. It feels so fluid. It's so fun. I just really love how the game feels, how you move around the world, how you explore the beautiful environment and the open world. I think they knocked that out of the park, and there's like no question on how that feels in the game.
I agree. Yes, I can attest to it. Dion is very excited for this one because one of the major reasons is the original, Phantasy Star Online 2, that one was very restrictive in its level design. Not that the levels were necessarily bad, but they mimicked more of actually I'm going to phrase it badly, like a poor man's Monster Hunter in a way, where
Very
the maps,
poor.
where the maps are not big and varied, but there's essentially sections of a different map that you have to complete before you fight the final boss, and then you leave. And that gameplay loop, while satisfying, was very restrictive. This one's open world, which is great. You can go in and out of the main city hub after the tutorial. Combat is, again, like Dion said, a lot of fun, and the enemies are surprisingly difficult. And that's not just based on me biting off more than I could chew sometimes. I mean, like, most of the time they're not pushovers. When you have to dodge, you're gonna have to dodge. When you fight, you fight. It's not as responsive as, say, like, it's not fair to compare it to this, but as responsive as, say, a Platinum Games game where if you dodge, you're gonna dodge, fight, dodge, fight. And it's like that fast, but it's good enough where it feels responsive and weighty. That's about how I feel about the game so far in general in regards to combat. Story and narrative is It's Phantasy Star Online 2. It's your anime plot. I'm sure there's probably some lore you could dig into if you really want to look it up and this and the other. But otherwise, the story is serviceable so far. It's there, but
it's good cutscenes, right? Like, I think the cutscenes are cool, and it's better than what they had in original PSO because it's obviously updated. But it's right? Like, you play Final Fantasy 14 online, it's like, okay. You play this, it's like, okay. Guess I'll play.
And even then, go ahead.
So that's just not the focus, it feels.
Yeah, and I'll admit it, that's definitely not. It's definitely not the focus. I don't think they're trying to wow us with a narrative. They're just like, here's an anime plot. So if you ever wanted to be in an anime and this game accomplishes that. Besides that, I have some cons with the game, and
a few more pros. I think playing with like friends, I think, is cool. Like, or how you're. I shouldn't say that. You know how Destiny has that automatic get connected with someone. That's how it works in PSO2 as well.
Yeah.
Not as seamless as Destiny actually, but still really cool. You leave like the main city and you just go out. Right. There's no loading screens or anything like that, and that's all the zones. And you just go out and you see other people and you like attack these bosses and enemies. I think that's really enticing as well. And then the grind, I would say, is not either bad or good. It just depends on what you like.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we can move to the cons.
Yeah, I'll agree with all that too. Ironically, this game, and this is going to lead into a pro, this game's UI design is better, but at the same time, it's not that much better. It's still really cluttered, and the means of adding people to your friends, like Dion or some of the other people we played with, it's trickier than it needs to be. It's straightforward, but it's also cumbersome to get to. You would think that all you'd have to do is look up your friend, or if you're going through Steam or Microsoft, you could just send them an invite to join the game, or it will pull from your friends list of some sort. But really, you have to meet them in game, and then you have to open up one or two menus before you can get to your friends, or not even your friends, to any players that are nearby. Then you add them. The nearby system is cool, not gonna lie. Then you add them, and then they get the invite, and friends. If they accept it, they better accept it. They're your friends. But at the same time, it just feels like it's a cumbersome process to go through all that. But it is smoother than the base Phantasy Star Online 2. I just think that they could use a few more shortcuts, and maybe it has some shortcuts that I just can't find right now, because there's a lot of things it throws at you at once, like all of its tutorials and all the systems, and a lot of it you can ignore from the jump. But besides that, it in a nutshell, the UI design is better, but not much better
not
than
modern.
Not by much.
It's not modern at all. It's still. It's like they just upgraded what they had and not recreated it for a new age, which I think is a detriment to the game.
Which, it is a detriment, but at the same time, you're not alienating new players by having them learn how to navigate new UI and whatnot. They might appreciate new UI, but if your room is messy and you have to clean it, at the very least you know your own mess, versus someone else cleaning up your room and you're like, okay, where is everything? I could see the compromise is just updating it to make it feel and look better, but it still has the old problems it used to have. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I would say my other two cons are pretty minor. One of them is the fact that the game lags a lot, almost every 5 or 10 seconds when you're with a friend, or even when you're not with a friend, when you're with just around people in general, they'll zip around like crazy, but that could probably be patched out later.
Yeah, and I do think it was actually fixed today.
Oh, good.
Specifically. Good. But yeah, the lag has been playable, but very bad. Let's go with that. It's not acceptable. That's all I can say. It's just not an acceptable level.
But when it's not lagging, it's great.
Oh, it's smooth. It's not lagging.
Besides that, my last petty con is just with all the improvements they've made to the characters and how everyone looks in the standard, especially in the cutscenes. No one really feels like a paperboard cutout necessarily. For some reason, your player you have access to expressions and whatnot, but your character remains expressionless. Even when they're talking, their lips don't move, and their eyes are staring into your soul. It's like, what's the point in giving us the ability to have expressions when we speak, when you're creating your character and whatnot? Which, by the way, the character creation is still a lot of fun. They made that process a lot better.
Pro 100%. The character creation is stunning.
Yes, the character creation is great. But it's like half of that goes out the window because your character doesn't even really do anything with that facially. With their face when they're in cutscenes. Even if they're voiced or silent, doesn't matter. There has to be some illusion that you're speaking, and they have that ability, but they just didn't do it. I don't know if that's something they want to patch in later, or if that's something that's like, hey, this is how it's always been. This is your Phantasy Star Online jank. But either way around, that's it for my pros and cons. What you got, Dion, on the con side, if you have anything?
So, I agree with your cons. There's a few other things. The weapon upgrade system, I was never a big fan of it, but it works, and it works, and it gives you something to do to your character. The battle power system, it reminds me of Destiny, and I'm just not a fan of it. Mm-hmm. I like Gear Score in other games, but I don't like it that much in this game. But I understand why they need it to level out content. And then those are all small and not huge deals. I think my biggest con for this game in general is actually the monetization. And people that play the game will say, hey, monetization's actually not bad. I don't really agree with that. I think the monetization's pretty bad. I mean, you have to do the scratch system, which is gambling. It's a gambling system, which I think is unacceptable. You should just buy the gear you want, just like, buy the outfit you want. You can't sell stuff on the auction house unless you're a subscriber. I would have been fine with this game being a subscription game if that's what we're going to do, but they make it And then you can't even, if you are a subscriber, you still don't get access to like the material storage. Not only are you paying to be a subscriber, but you don't get access still to the material storage you have to pay $7 a month for additional. So I just think the monetization was fine for original PSO2 because we had, it was an older game, so you can accept that it was a little different. And it was the first kind of foray into free to play, but now, it doesn't make sense for today's games.
Yeah.
And the inventory being kind of restricted, it just doesn't make sense. And I think they could have done a better job of modernizing it and just making premium feel good. Like if they had, I would have been fine with a lot of it if premium included a lot of it. If I could pay $15 a month and get the game fully, just like playing Final Fantasy, I'm 100% in. Even if it's a free-to-play game with restrictions and you pay $50 a month, you get everything. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But that is not what this is, and I find it frustrating at times.
I could definitely agree with that. A lot of those things carried over from, like you said, the previous model or version of the game. And unfortunately, they are very much still there. You can totally play the game as you want for free, but you are hindered. Essentially, I wouldn't say to the point where it's pay to win, since you're not really. I don't think the game has PvP.
Yeah, it's not pay to win. It's definitely just. It's not even paid to get up faster. It's just more.
It's just
unnecessary. You can get money because you can sell stuff finally if you pay, right? But it is just cosmetic mostly. It's just. I guess the money part could be considered pay to win, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels fine.
Yeah. But with that, we're going to wrap up our first impressions here for Phantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis. If you guys liked what you hear, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you for queuing up with us. Dion, do you want to say your goodbye?
See ya.
And that's it. Catch you guys next time. Bye.